Slama. Okay, I'm just gonna make a quick short video. Somebody inboxed me, make some clarification on the fact that I said Jesus and God, all of them is one, and pretty much was calling them one, but they're not the same people, okay? God had multiple names, Jesus had multiple names. I did say the story was copycat for multiple tablets, the Emerald tablet, the Sumerian tablet, this and that. So I still got it on here. I try to write some notes on top of notes. Okay, when I said I am that I am, and that was basically representing Yahweh, separating the Yah and the Wah, and it was all about the I. So just let me try to separate the God or the guys, okay? So, oh man, I should erase that. But I'm tired. Been cleaning, getting ready. But let me see. This, you're not gonna see it on here, but these are the same notes. I wrote notes on top of notes, but you're not gonna be able to see it. So maybe you could pick something up in there. So I'm gonna try to explain who Yahweh is. Okay, Yahweh, and would be Prometheus. He will also be Inky. He will also be, what did I say? Oh, he will also be Yaku, the big head scientist. He will be the great counselor. Jesus will be Thor, his son. And Thor was a very important God. But if you look, Jesus, I just still say they still don't really exist because that wasn't really his name. There was a lot of people named just Zeus. Hell, Zeus back then. But the one everyone talking about, Joshua, okay? He would have been the original person that should have been in the story, Joshua, okay? Which would have been our brother. But they changed his name, even though he was murdered, wasn't hung on no cross. He was really hung on a tree. So they're not telling you the whole story. Yahshua, okay? But even Yahshua would have been equal to us. So they took Jesus, they made up the name Jesus, and they put him on a pedestal. So when I say we all equal, we are equal. We are equal to Inky or Yahweh, which is the same person. Inky, Yahweh, the great counselor, the big head scientist, Yaku. He's all these same Prometheus. So Yahweh is all these people, okay? Now, when you're talking about Elohim, Elohim is pretty much gods, plural gods. Elohim, okay? That's multiple gods, okay? And then that would be El Shaddai. That would be the mother of all creation. So the Elohim would be the one that created the earth. I'll put it on here somewhere. See, the Elohim, I'm trying to just put back on what somebody asked me about. They wanted me to clarify the different gods. So Elohim, I'll put it on here somewhere. Elohim would be the created, Elohim, which is all the gods. The God would be Mother Yah, which I call her Mother Yah, which is El Shaddai, the great I, which would be the I, Asherah, and Asherah was the divine queen of heaven. And she will also be the breasted one. When they talk about the breasted one, that would be Mama Yah. So that's really where the breast come from, the breasted one. And she will, so Elohim is plural gods. Oh, so Enki would be part of these gods. Not Enki, Enlil, which is Enki brother. So they are brothers, Enki and Enlil. So when they said, let us make God in our image, okay? So there was God that created the earth. So These are separate from Yahweh. So Enlil and Enki was at war with one another, at odds with one another. Enki, which is Yahweh of the Bible, which is the one that made the Bible, he is the one that made the creation. He made the creation of Adam and Eve, okay? He made a creation. So they got it in the book of Genesis, but book of Genesis wouldn't really be the beginning of the book. Well, not everything in there. It wouldn't be the first book, but they got it in there. So it would throw you off and make you think he created his being at the beginning of time, but that's not true, because the Anunnakis would have been here already. The Anunnaki and they said the Samaritans would already be here, okay? But Yahweh, which is the God in the Bible, he is the God of the Samaritan. He would be the God of the Samaritans, because that would have been the creations. And the creations, when the creations were the women, they slept with the fallen angels, which is Yahweh, which is the angel, okay? The Yahweh and the angels, okay? They the one, Yahweh took 1/3 of the angels with him, okay? So you would call them watchers, the angels, whatever. But anyway, they started sleeping with his creation, okay? The angels that Yahweh took with him, they say the devil took with him, which would really be Yahweh. So Yahweh of the Bible, he took 1/3 of the angels with him. Those angels started sleeping with his creation. Those are the angels that started sleeping with Yahweh of the Bible creation. And that's what he was mad about. Okay? So the wives that the angels slept with and created these other beings, that what was they calling? Not the Nephilims. The Nephilim. The Nephilim. So when the flood came, so when they created these beings, the beings was defiling everybody. So the flood came to wash out them, the giants. Okay? Mama Yah sent the flood to wash them out. But also the women's that Yahweh created, they was punished. And they the ones been made out of the sirens, which would be the mermaids. So I know it's confusing. That's why I say you have to do your own research, because it's deep. And everybody have multiple names, and the name changed depending on what tablet you're reading it from. The Sumerian tablet, Emma tablet, the Bible, all of it, what you read in Hebrew, everything's going to change, okay? Everything's going to change. And another thing, somebody asked us about was the Israelites. Now, some of the Israelites, because like I said, the Israelites, they was worshiping the original God, the original true God. But again, I said they had to wait until the old generation died out before they can introduce the new God which was Yahweh. So when Yahweh say, don't worship no other gods, he didn't say worship no other idols, okay? So they wasn't worship idols, they was worshiping other gods. Thou shalt have no other God but me, and stuff like that. So he was trying to pretty much form his own group. So when the children of Israel, when I said them were God's people, because they were by the time Moses came along. Okay, because you remember Moses was raised in the house of an Egyptian. Okay? And the Egyptian, when Joseph took over, Joseph and his people, the Israelites, was able to mingle with the Egyptian. Okay, so they all was one until the Moses time came. Okay, until Moses came when God sent them to free his people. So they said they was in bondage for 400 years, but in the Bible it's really clear to say 430 years. Okay, but they really was in bondage, and to the point to the way they didn't want to get out of bondage, because it wasn't bondage, because the people that was in jail or prison, they knew they had committed some kind of crime or whatever, did some kind of offense. So they really wasn't in bondage. They was living amongst the Egyptians because they served the same God. They were still both all worshiped in the original God. Okay, so when Moses left, he was in the wilderness. And when I was talking about the wilderness, he was confused. When he was confused, so it's all allegory and symbolic. So this is how Yahweh had Moses when he went out in the wilderness. And when he went out in the wilderness, see, they twisted that story. But when Moses went out into the wilderness, come on now. When he went out into the wilderness, but wilderness is really, he was confused in his mind when he saw the red bush. But I'm doing it in the symbolic allegory way. But I'm trying to put it also in the physical way so you can see really what happened. But when Moses went out into the wilderness after leaving Egypt, they showed them people was really being in bondage and this and that. But Jacob, when Joseph, not Jacob, but when Joseph, when he got his father and his brothers them, he brought them in, they was living amongst the Egyptians. They was living well. They said they was living well until a certain king died, okay? Till a certain pharaoh died or whatever. But they was living amongst one another, was nobody slave or anything like that. And if anybody was in prison, it's because they did an offense to where they was in prison. But they had a certain amount of time before they was released from that prison, and then they would be able to live amongst the people within general population, you could say, like segregation. So if you did an offense, you're going to go to segregation or prison or whatever. So I know that because I spent at least 3 years in segregation most of my time when I was in prison. But anyway, so when Joseph died, when a certain Pharaoh died, and those generations died, then they said, okay, let us put them in prison before they become more than us, or multiply and rise up against us. So that's what they was afraid about, the Egyptians. But they all used to worship the same God. So when they came up with that plan and said that was also a trick of Yahweh, getting into their mind, just like he tricked Moses. Okay, same way he tricked Moses when he went out there in the wilderness. And he had them go free the people, the Israelites. And that's why I said they was mixed. Israelite and Egyptian became mixed, okay? Because they live amongst these people. They worship the same God, the original God, Mama Yah, El Shaddai, Asherah. So the breasted one. So they living amongst one another, serving the same God. So now Yahweh want to form his own group. He want to rise up and become, well, I keep saying God because God can be anybody. When they say God in a certain part of the Bible, you got to do the concordance, and do the concordance will tell you which word it is, Latin, Greek, Hebrew. It'll let you know. So when you do that, and it'll explain if it's El Shaddai, if it's Elohim, is it the breasted one? Is it, just the God Yahweh? If they say Yahweh, they're going to use Yahweh. And if they say God, they're going to use El Shaddai in a certain part. And if they say the breasted one, or if they say, whatever the other names, the Elohim. So they use them all different. They all name is different. Certain part of the Bible. The only place they don't use them the same as in the English Bible. But if you look like in the Hebrews, the Greek and all, they're gonna let you know who they was. Now, the old Bible used to do that, but for some reason it's not doing that anymore. But when I talk about Enlil and Enki, that's God and his brother in another Samaritan text. Enlil would have been on Mama Yah's side. Enki would be Yahweh. So he was against Mama Yah because he went in her spot. And the reason why is because when they call Jesus the King of Kings, men couldn't be kings unless they marry into the monarch. So you couldn't be a king unless you married into the monarch. Okay, so if Jesus never married and never had a wife, He never had a chance of being king, so he could have never become king or king. And so they couldn't get the spot. So it's just so hard to explain because there's so much to explain, but it's just, he could have never been king or king. Okay? So you have to understand that part of the story. I'm hoping I answer your question because, again, I can explain it, but if we were sitting here, I think I can explain it more, and I probably have to just go in a little harder and go a little depth and try to explain this because I'm thinking I'm putting it in layman terms, and I'm really not. I'm putting it so in layman terms to where I think I'm getting dumbed down to, I'm getting confused with what I'm saying in this because I have to go back and see what you asked me. So, I don't know. So, I hope that explained it. But, I wrote something else down you asked. Nope, that ain't it. Yeah, I put the one down when I said, how come Moses they couldn't get into the promised land after the old ones died off because the old one, they knew who was the true God. And, hey, there was one scripture I did want to, and I had it pulled up on my other phone, and I don't even know where that phone at. Might have left it over my niece's house. Yeah, I don't know, but I did have a scripture. Let me look on here. Make my Google, they normally save. But Jesus will still be considered to be God, Yahweh's son, in a different emerald tablet. Different emerald tablet. It would be thought, but when I say they was all the same, I just grouped them like they on the same team pretty much. They pretty much on the same team. Now again, Jesus wouldn't been the original name. It would be a made up name they used. Because Jesus is hell, Zeus will be the devil, but it was a lot of people back then. That name was Zeus, not Yahshua, but Jesus. What is that name? Yeah, that's whatever his name is. I forgot how you say that in Spanish. Jesus. Yeah. So it was a lot of people named Jesus back then. So when he asked them, who do people say that I am? And everybody said Jesus. And Peter, I think, or Paul, he said, you the Christ, And he said, man or somebody haven't taught you this, but somebody on high taught you this, told you this, showed you this. So, because you remember when Saul was persecuting, he was persecuting the church. He was persecuting the church. And they said, Yahweh asked him, why is you persecuting me? And he thought he was really doing the work of the original God, which he really was. But Yahweh wound up taking him and putting him on his team, and then because he was persecuting the church, and he should have been persecuting the church. But they blinded him, they tricked him and confused him to believe that Yahweh was the original church, original God. But he wasn't, and he isn't. But Saul was actually by him persecuting the church, he was really doing the right thing, because it would really be the church that pretty much did all this, okay? That started this, the separation and stuff like that. Because even when, what's his name, Martin Luther King, even when he found that's really why Martin Luther King was killed. Because Malcolm X, because they started learning the truth. Because Malcolm X even started saying that We didn't learn that Plymouth Rock landed on us because he used to preach that we was kidnapped and brought here and woo this and that, but then he started switching it. He started switching it. Martin Luther King was started switching his. See, Martin Luther King was helping the people go vote, wanted to, had a right to vote and woo this and that. But when he realized when they was registered to vote, they was taking the people land, they property and their homes and stuff. See, he realized that he didn't know that these people were signing over their house and their land to these people because they was tricking them, deceiving them, and it's from the church and the political. And that's really how all that stuff started. So it's just so much in this. It's just so much in this. So I probably will have to, well, if ain't nobody else asks, I probably gonna break it down some more. But I just wanted to break down and put that in a separation about when you ask about Jesus and Yahweh. So he would still be considered his son. He would still be considered on his team. Again, his original name wasn't Jesus. It was Yeshua. And he wasn't hung on a cross. Now, it was a bunch of black people being burned and killed on crosses at the way beginning, way back in the Romans' time, the Romans and the British time. And the thing is, the church was doing all that. Not the Catholic Church or none of that. The church was doing all that too. So they all, and like I said, the pastors they know the truth on all this stuff. They know this, especially if you went to theology and you got your own church or whatever. You know the truth. You know the truth. And I think that's why they get them that 501c3 for free for what they got to pay the taxes. That was guess you say they reparation. That would be their reparation funds, I guess. They don't have to pay taxes. So, and the man answered her, our life are yours. If you utter not this, our business, it shall be when the Lord has given us the land that we will deal kindly and truly with thee. And she left. No, that ain't it. That ain't it. She let down. Is this the Bible? And she said unto him, get you. No, this ain't it. That's no way near it. But anyway, yeah. Jesus is thought, which would be Yahweh's son, Prometheus' son. Yahweh is also Enki. Yahweh is also Yaku, which they call the big head science. He will be the counselor, which also in layman term would mean lawyer. So you said they talk about he'll be your lawyer and all that in the courtroom. Yeah, this why. This is why when they said Jesus to be your attorney and woo this and that, and this is why. This is exactly what they mean, because he play a role in all of these things. He would be the leader of the fallen angel. Yahweh would be the one that created the creation. And Adam and Eve. And also when I said, well, I guess if you want to believe there's a devil, or if you believe there's a God, you believe there's a devil, but that's just a lower part of yourself. But the one that they made out to try to make this seem like it's the devil would be Mama Yah, El Shaddai, Azra. But you have to ask yourself, who would want, like, if you had a child, would you want your child not to eat or not to be educated on something? Because if you have a child, the purpose of raising up your child is so that they can go to school and learn the curriculum that they need to survive in this world, right? So you say, so why would a God create something and then create something else if he created, and then tell them not to look at it, but they just supposed to look up on it? So this should tell you this man couldn't have made this, because what would be the purpose of you making this tree of knowledge of good and evil? Why would you make this tree? What would be the purpose of making that tree? Okay, if you didn't want none of your creations to eat it or eat off of it or look up on it, or none of that, touch it or none of that, it don't make sense. It don't make sense. Why would you create something and put it in a garden? A garden, so that means they got limited mobility. So they limit it, because you're in a garden. We're gonna just say it's a square room, or it could be bigger than a square room. But I'm just saying you still got four corners. Okay, you put in something, it's a square, it's a garden, and it's put in four corners, circle, however you create the garden. Okay, but you put something that you made in there. Okay, and you're supposed to have life and have life more abundantly, but it's something you couldn't touch in there. Why would you put them at risk like that? And they said so you can obey him. Okay, follow his will. It's just part of a disciplinary thing. That's what they told us. It's part of disciplinary, and so we can practice our own free will. And that's what the church told us, so we can practice our own free will. So it had to be a opposition. So, but when you look at it, don't make sense. So, and the serpent came in there and tell you wouldn't die. You surely wouldn't die. You're not going to die spiritually, or you're definitely not going to die physically if you eat it. So what's going to happen is now you're going to see. Your eyes going to open, and you're going to become just like God. And that was God's thing. He was a jealous God. He didn't want you to see that you was a God. He didn't want you to see, which the thing is, once they ate from that, now they got the knowledge of good and evil. See, all the gods had the knowledge of good and evil already. All the gods already had it. Okay? So when he put them in, he didn't put them in no garden. He pretty much was talking about the lab that he made them in. He made them in his lab, and it just so happened there was a lot of trees of good and evil around, a tree of life. There was multiple trees of life. Okay, you couldn't miss it, because that was one of Mama Yah, El Shaddai. That was one of her symbols, is trees. That's why they destroying a lot of trees now. All the big giant trees that we really had, they took those trees and cut them down. They took them and cut them down. So that was really the tree of life. So they took the stir and just twisted, and constantly twisted. And that's why I say you have to do your own due diligence and do your own research, because like you see, you asked me the same question, and I'm thinking I'm putting it out there right, because I'm trying to put it out there, and then I say it so many times, I'm getting twisted on my own words. Okay, so because I'm telling you, it's hard to tell a story in this box, in this phone. I'll just sit here and talk to a phone. I really don't like talking on the phone, and I used to have at least 4 phones, carry at least 4 phones, and I wouldn't answer nan one of them, because I really don't like talking on the phone. Okay, so be talking into one, and I'm not talking to anyone but myself, and it's just kind of odd. So I'm getting used to it. I hate getting used to things, but I'm trying to adapt to it. Just put it like that. I'm adapting to it, so hopefully things get better. But I hope you find the answer to your question somewhere in here. Somewhere, I hope you find it in here. Okay, and that just pretty much, I think that was it. Yeah, I was trying to explain, I think, a little more about the Israelite. Yeah, they still are the tribe of Judah, because there is, like I said, Israelite, but right now you can't tell who's original and who's not, because like I said, the Egyptian and the Israelite got mixed up. They got mixed up. This would be the Egypt here. Egypt and the Israelite, everybody was living right here. Okay? Most of the new generation of the Israelite started following Yahweh, because that's why he freed them, had Moses to so-called free them from the Egyptian. And the Egyptians did say let's put them in bondage just in case they rise up and you know what I mean. But that was a younger generation as well. That was a younger generation on the Egypt side and a younger generation on the Israelite side. So they still would have been worship this original God. Okay, so the tribe of Judah would be still the lions. Okay, so that's another thing I want to say. When you look at it, when you follow Yahweh, you're supposed to be he's supposed to be your shepherd, and you're supposed to be a sheep, timid, right? You're supposed to be timid like a sheep because he's your shepherd. The thing is, if you from the tribe of, say you're from the tribe of Judah, and your tribe represent the lion. Lions ain't following no shepherd. Lions eating shepherds, eating up sheeps. They eating the lamb, okay? Because you a lion or a lioness. You're not no sheep. Sheep, you know what I mean? Lamb or ram. See, Yahweh used lamb and rams. So he used those. He used the lamb and the rams. And he made a sacrifice with the ram, okay? Lion and lioness are kings or queens, okay? So I was talking about the real king of kings would be Mama Yah. And you couldn't become a king of a jungle, if you didn't marry into the monarchy. You couldn't become a king of the jungle. You have to marry into it. You have to marry into it. So there's no way Jesus was going to be a king of kings because he so-called wasn't married. Let them tell it. But Yahshua, he was and had a family. The true person that's in there, okay? So you got to keep him in there because he is the true person and he is on the tribe of Judah. He will be in worshiping the true God. See, they murdered him and they hung him on a tree. For real, they hung him on a tree. Not a cross. Now, they was killing black folks on a cross. Multiple black peoples on a cross, okay? But that's another story because that's going to confuse you as well if I keep talking about that. Because it's come from the church. And the church is not who you really originally think it is. Like where the Pope and everything, you wonder why the Pope bow down and worship the British, okay, or the black people down there. And because he know the truth. He know the truth. Okay, he know the truth. So it's a lot in it. It's a lot in it. And you can't just try to break the story down in pieces, even though it's a puzzle, but it's just so many different tablets. And you got to go research. And there's so many people out here giving you different stories. So you will, I remember when I was reading them, and I was hearing it from different stories, trying to read it on my own, not understanding and this and that. And they say, okay, I'm going this way. But then find yourself going that way then. And that's because they got a piece here, a piece there, a piece there, a piece there. And you got to bring the pieces together and read it for the original. So, and they said that Samaritan tablet would be the original. And I don't even think Samaritan tablet is the original. And they said it is, but I don't believe it to be. But who am I to say? You know, I'm just putting this out here for information and purpose on it. So again, I hope I did answer your question. If not, hit me in my inbox. We can try to go over it and try to come to a conclusion because I'm probably still mixing it up. So just hit me up again if this don't work for you. And I'm posting this just in case somebody else had the same conclusion that I didn't or heard it and came up with the same conclusion about me mixing up the God and me mixing up the Israelite, the Egyptian, okay? Because the true Israelites, they would have been worshiping Mama Yah, El Shaddai. Again, they got tricked to worship Yahweh when Moses came along. Okay, and that's why they had to wait until the older generation died out before they entered the promised land. because those people, they wanted to go back. They wanted to go back into Egypt. And it wasn't, again, to worship no idol gods, no idols. See, it wasn't no idols. And they keep saying they wanted to go back and worship idols, go back for the leeks and onion. It wasn't none of that. They knew that's where they true God, original God, was being worshipped. And that's what they wanted, you know. So that's why they wanted to go back. They weren't going to let them go back, but that's why they wanted to go back. So, again, I hope that cleared it up. The rest of the Israelite, the new generation, they came out and started following Yahweh. But if you look at it, it's the same way with our ancestors, which they would be, the Anunnaki would be our ancestors. But if you look at it, that's how it happened with our ancestor here. They knew the truth, you know, but they knew the truth about slavery, but they separated people from their family. And they always separate the kids from the older generation. So, and that's because the older generation know the truth. And we, like I was talking about the Indians, which is just a title, because we really ain't Indians. I say we Choctaw, but when you look at it, it was really only one Indian, which was Mississippians. And before the Mississippian, it was another name. So these are just different titles, and they give us. And again, our name will constantly change over the time, because that's what happened. You know, your name will constantly change. Just like when you read the Emerald Tablet, they have multiple names for the gods. Their name changed. Yahweh name changed to Enki. Yahweh name changed to Prometheus. Yahweh changed to the Yaku. So it's different names. Same way with Mama Yah. She would be El Shaddai. Well, in the Bible, she's going to be the same thing. The Elohims, which is multiple gods. So the name's going to change. But the thing is, in order to understand the name, you will have to know the stories. And there's so many stories. The best thing I could tell you to do is study all the stories. Put them together and come up with your own puzzle pieces. And by putting what you that sound right to you together. That's all I can say. So I hope that cleared it up. But if not, maybe the next video I put out would. I was going to put it out tomorrow, but I'm not going to put it out tomorrow because I'm going to be busy tomorrow. But you never know. So I just want to thank y'all guys for your comments, for your watching this video, and also sharing to me, you know, well, it doesn't mean, even if it's just one person. I appreciate the fact that you was honest and just came and asked me the questions and revealed the mistake I made or whatever, or the confusion I put out there. So I do appreciate that. You know, somebody else could have watched it and just say, I ain't going to say nothing. You know, so I do appreciate you just coming and asking, you know, because that's the only way you're going to know the truth, by seeking the truth. Like you say, the truth to set you free. So, yeah. Thank you again, Ashe.